Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. I have a very special guest with me, Trips. Hi, Trips.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
I'm good. Nice to have you on my show for the first time.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you on. Trips is a creative healing coach. And Trips, if you just talk about how your journey, like career history, and what led you to becoming a creative healing coach.
Okay, so was working in as an andrologist, which nobody knows what that is, so I'll explain. It's I worked in the male fertility sector.
All right, okay.
And I worked in London for 5 years, but I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia at that time, and I had widespread pain. I was actually in pain pretty much my whole life, but this is where it got really bad. And my physical and my mental health was just deteriorating. So whilst I was working as an andrologist, I loved my actual job, but everything else was making life very difficult.
Yeah. And
I just felt like I had no support. I was being basically just prescribed painkillers, and this was about 8 years ago when I started taking opioids. And they weren't really helping. They weren't doing the job, so they just got stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And then I left my job as an andrologist after 5 years because I just wasn't able to cope. I wasn't able to go into work. I was off sick more than I was in the lab, and it was just not enjoyable anymore. So I left to come back home. At the time, I was also doing a maths degree, which was through university, just because I'm a masochist, basically. It's no other reason for that.
A lot going on there, a lot happening all at once there, Trips, and dealing with that. And I can definitely connect with you in regards to your mental health deteriorating, especially with being sick all the time, and you was in a job that you loved. And all of a sudden now you've got all these other things that you're trying to balance, and being off work all the time. And yeah, no, it's very difficult. So what did you do about your mental health at that time? How was you coping there?
I wasn't.
You wasn't?
I wasn't coping. I did go for counselling whilst I lived in London, but I think it was through the NHS, and I got 12 sessions. After 12 sessions, it was like, okay, bye.
Wow.
And there was like, you can go and pay for it, but I just wasn't in the right mentality to help myself. I just didn't, and so I never carried on with the counselling. And also I didn't think it really helped at the time, because I wasn't really in it. Like, my heart wasn't in it. I didn't see the point. I was so depressed that I was like, oh, nothing's going to help.
Just in that funk, as I call it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, that dark hole, and you can't see your way out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's tough. Was it CBT related?
Yes. Yeah. I did have CBT for the pain, and they gave us some tips and all of that. Didn't really help. And it wasn't until about a year and a half ago that I really was serious about getting better.
Yeah.
So after I left London, I moved back in with my parents. I thought I'd finished my maths degree. I only had a couple of months left to go, and I would spend the summer trying to recuperate and then start looking for work.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, while I was looking for work, I became a tutor, which was good. I was good at it, but I didn't enjoy it. And it was nice to like help people, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I didn't feel the same, gratification that I felt as an andrologist. And because my heart was in going back to the lab, but I found it increasingly difficult to get back into work, because they changed the rules about how qualified somebody needs to be in order to do that job. So it was like, even though I worked there for 5 years and I was very, very good at my job, that didn't matter. So it actually, that made me more depressed. That was really bad for mental health. It kept feeling like I was being told I wasn't worthy, I wasn't good enough. And I was telling myself this at the time as well. So it's just all piling on. So I've been working, I'm still a tutor. I've been working as a tutor since 2017.
Yeah. I've
tutored all sorts of ages in maths and science and English. And yeah, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it wasn't fulfilling you.
No, yeah, exactly. And I knew that I needed to do something more.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was done with science. Like I was like, it's not giving me what I need. I can't get back into it. I don't want to go and do a master's degree and all of this, because I already have a master's degree. And I was like, it's just too much. I don't want to go back to uni. And I need to do more. I want to help people. So yeah, about a year and a half ago, I started getting counselling, and I was more serious about it. And I was really invested, exactly. And that started to really help me to see that, you know, asking people for help wasn't a bad thing. And then I got a life coach, who the first thing we talked about was what I was going to do for a career.
Yeah.
What because it was so unfulfilling that it was a big source of my depression and anxiety.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
Yeah, which was then triggering the pain and all the other symptoms. And so I wrote a whole list of things that were interesting to me. And this one that was just, it was like the main thing that I kept coming back to was helping people with creativity. And I was like, I know it helped me during the last 5 years that I've lived at home. I got more and more creative. I was quite creative before anyway. But whilst I lived in London, I didn't do anything creative because I just didn't have the time. There was no time in the day. Yeah. Sorry?
Busy with work and life, eh?
Busy with work and life, yeah, and dealing with all the other crap.
Yes.
But then when I moved back home, my mum took me to her art class. My mum's really creative.
All right.
She's a botanical illustrator. So she dragged me there with her, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't draw this stuff. Turns out I could. And yes, it is very cool. It's she's very, very good. So it was nice. I felt like that was also something we bonded over, which was lovely. I like that we have that thing, because we never really had a thing like that.
Oh, really? It's nice to connect with it appearing on something, isn't it? Something.
Yeah.
You know, you can spend that time together. That, you know, if you didn't have that, you know, most of the time growing up or something, it's nice to have a connection there.
It is.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And like I'll ask her for help, and she's happy to help me, because we feel that connection and that kind of bonding over something that we're both really passionate about. But yeah, so I started getting more and more creative. And I found that it really helped me, especially when I was really depressed. It would just take my mind off it. And I found that it really got me through a lot of the dark, terrible times. Mostly just I just wasn't focused on what my anxiety was about, or what I was depressed about, or the pain, or whatever was happening in my body. So this kept coming back to me, like, help people, like, with this, do something to do with creativity and helping people. I just didn't know how to piece it together.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know if it's a job. I don't know what, I'm making something up. But my life coach, she was great, and she was like, yeah, let's talk about it. And she was like, you could definitely coach people. And she was like, you're already a teacher. You're already, you know, helping people. You already have that kind of, you know, I'm an empath. I'm very good at listening to people. And like, apparently my advice is very good, so that's a bonus.
You're just going off the feedback here. You're not sure about that yourself, but you'll go.
No, I don't listen to my own advice.
Let's go with that. Listen, it's good getting positive feedback, and that makes you feel good about yourself. We like that.
Yeah, I think it also helps to know that you're doing the right thing. So that's how I became a creative healing life coach. And it was about a year ago that I set up my Instagram page. And it's been challenging.
Definitely. It will be, because it's something, as you said, it's something you didn't even think you could earn a living off and start from. What's been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome?
Being present on social media.
Yeah, I hear that. And I will say, you do put out great content, and I do love your reels and your stories that you put out. They're always, very informative, fun, and you definitely get the point across, and there's always a good message in what you do. It's not this mindless nonsense. It's actually, it gets your attention, and then you actually put a message out there at the same time. So I do, hence why we're here. I have interviews with people I respect, and it's just a platform for people that inspire me. I'm going with that whole inspire word, since the inspiring calm thing. I love it.
Yes. That has been really challenging, because even on my personal Instagram and Facebook, I just stopped posting. There was a time when I actually broke my knee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've broken so many bones in my left leg, it's ridiculous. I broke my knee, when was it? I think it was 2018. I don't remember, but it was a while ago. I think it was 2018. And I ended up getting what they call Facebook depression, which is where you keep going on Facebook and seeing people being all happy and living their life and posting all their good stuff. And I was stuck at home, not being able to do anything. I had to just stop. So I stopped going on Facebook, stopped going on Instagram. And that was for years. I just didn't go on it. So getting back on there, but in a whole different way, was a big challenge, I think.
Do you think you're introverted, or?
I think I'm a bit of both.
Yeah. No, I hear that, and I think it's a big difference, though, isn't it? There's being an extrovert, and then there's being active on social media. I think that's a whole different thing, because of how constant. It's almost like this relentless thing. We talk about algorithms and triggering that, and it's so relentless, I find, with how you need to be in order to get promotions. And for what you do, you need people you want clients, so to reach out to people, and for your Instagram to grow, then your business will grow. So it's all part of your branding and marketing. So it's a different type, and that's something I need to do. That's a hurdle I've not overcome since we're talking about this. That's something I need to definitely embrace more, is showing my face on there. And it's funny how I'm okay with it on YouTube, but I can't do it on Instagram. I find that a harder barrier to overcome for me, a hurdle, shows an obstacle. And it's weird how I struggle with that, and it's this constant thing in my head, oh no, it's not going to come out right, and am I going to sound positive enough, or is it going to be fun enough? And these constant fears and things I play around with in my head. But it's just about doing it, isn't it?
It is about doing it. I think maybe it's because on Instagram you feel like you've got to be, because people only see a snapshot, so you've got to get their attention straight away. Whereas I think with your YouTube interview, it's just really casual and chill, and we're just having a chat. It's a bit more relaxed. That's why I found doing reels really difficult. So I gave myself the 30 reels challenge, which I'm on day 23, and I'm like, please let this end soon.
Like pulling teeth out, yeah?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what else to post.
Listen, you're doing well, though. As I said, you're doing good. I'm loving the content. Going back to kind of your previous career and kind of your mental health, because I was just thinking, you know what, it's almost grieving, isn't it? It's like grief because of the life you had before, to realizing you can no longer have that life, and I suppose that's what you was going through when you were struggling with your mental health. It's the grief. It's the fact that you're now having to create a new life for yourself. And at that time, you probably never thought about, oh, I want to leave this and move on to the next. It was more like, I'm happy here where I am. I found my home within this environment and this occupation. And it's kind of like, no, that's taken away from me because I can't keep up with it physically and mentally. And it's grief, isn't it? We grieve these things. It's like loss.
And I think that's a perfect way to describe it. I wouldn't have thought of that at the time, but afterwards, looking back, I can see I was grieving for not just having to leave London, but whilst I was there, you know, and I could see myself physically and mentally deteriorating. I was like, this isn't who I am. So I felt like I was also grieving the person that I wanted to be.
Definitely.
And when I moved back home, like, I missed all my friends. All my friends were there. I missed that social interaction of work, going to a building and talking to all these people and being social. And like I said, if I was extroverted at work. I really felt comfortable there. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to leave. It was a decision I was making for at least a year. Took me a really long time.
So now in the future with your business and things, what's your plans to take it? I know some of it maybe you don't want to reveal and you want it to be a surprise to follow you and people that want to become a client of yours.
Yeah, what's my plans? Well, I've started my membership program, which I started last month. And my plan with that is to look at a symptom and look at a creative hobby. So this month, it's all about anxiety and painting. And so learning about anxiety, but also learning how to use painting to help your anxiety. I mean, you can use any creative hobby to help any symptoms. I just sort of thought pairing them would be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Feeling a certain way, you can go, oh, I learned to use painting for this anxious feeling. And then, but then I also do coaching calls during my membership program where we actually talk about where your anxiety is coming from, the root cause, and how to actually get to the root cause. And then when we find the root cause, how to deal with that and the triggers and all of it, that really get to the root and the deep healing.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I definitely hear that. So what would be a mission statement for your business?
Oh my God, that's a good question. I've never thought of that.
Well, I'll just put you on the spot. I just just put it out there. Let's see what comes back.
My mission statement. I want people to get more creative. Whether they have mental health issues or chronic conditions or physical issues. I think everybody needs to get more creative and get back to that childlike fun and get messy and not be so stuck in perfectionism and the whole grind of the 9 to 5 and all that. And I think that everybody needs to remember how strong their body actually is, and that we can overcome.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I was just thinking about what you do and kind of the creative side of it. I think for me anyway, which has helped me in my mental health and why creativity and art and whatever you do, it gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you something to focus on and a real sense of achievement. When you've got your finished work and your finished piece or whatever you're doing. It did seeing the fruits of your labor. And that, for me, I always look back to kind of, you know, again, back to purpose and self-worth, and that you matter. What you do matters. And it's looking at that for me, and always thinking about that sense of purpose, action, making something from nothing, and kind of seeing, you know, whatever you do, to kind of the end product of it all, the final piece and the final, you know, finished piece of it all is satisfying and fulfilling. I really find that with art and being creative, and that's definitely given me, even making podcasts and creating the thumbnails and doing all of that stuff, and ideas for podcasts and things, all of that stuff is great to put together and then put it into action. And I think that really gives us that sense of purpose and you know, a feel-good factor to things we do in life, and that definitely helps with your mental health and a lot. And as I said, when I used to struggle, it was all around not feeling, you know, worthy, or having that self-worth and feeling valued and of importance.
Yeah, well said. I think another thing I would add is that you feel proud of yourself.
Yes, there you go.
And for me personally, it was not a feeling I ever really had. I mean, it was always fleeting. Like, I was proud when I got my degree or my master's degree or whatever. Then it was like, okay, well, I've done that now. What's next? It was always like, I have to do more. Whereas I feel like when I'm knitting something and I've just learned a new knitting pattern, I'm like, oh my God, look what I've just done. And I feel proud of it. And I look at it and I'm like, I did that. Or like this Christmas bauble I just painted. I'm like, I've never painted a bauble before, and I don't like using watercolors. And I did it. I overcame and I did it. And it's not the best bauble in the world, but it's pretty good. And I'm really proud of it. And so I think that sense of pride is what builds on your self-worth as well. So, you know, not having somebody else tell you, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Telling yourself.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. That communication we have with ourselves, and, you know, and definitely praising ourselves, and the language we use with ourselves is so important. And, you know, it's so easy to be so self-critical and really be hard on ourselves when we're not achieving, and we're not doing what we want to do with our lives, or accomplishing things we want to accomplish with our lives. But, you know, we need to celebrate all the wins, no matter how small they are. You know, they don't have to be huge wins. They could be little things, like you said.
Yeah.
Any little thing that we accomplished that maybe we couldn't do before, you know, that's something to celebrate. You know, I'm not talking about throwing parties all the time, but just give yourself praise and say, you know what, well done for that. You done well, and you've achieved a lot. You know, it's something from nothing. You didn't have this skill before. Now you look at what's come out of learning. And through it, you could have setbacks along the way, but look at what you've achieved. You know, something is better than nothing. And let's have better communication and better relationships with ourselves. And I think if we want to live fulfilling lives, that's where it starts. We got to start with ourselves before we can look at helping others. And I think
that's so true.
And that's what you've done, though. You've looked at yourself and you've done the self-development to get to this point. And without that, you wouldn't be able to help people.
No, not at all. Because I can relate to my journey, and I can say, oh, I've been where you are, and I know how to get through it, or I know how I got through it, and this is what I did, and maybe that will help you. I think you know, a year ago, I wouldn't be able to have started my membership program because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to give that help. And I think, going off of what you said about how we talk to ourselves, I think, you know, once we start showing ourselves unconditional love that we should be showing ourselves, we can start putting that love out there in the world. And I've found that the way I speak to other people has changed, and the language I use has changed. And, you know, my mentality towards let's say somebody did something that I was like, oh, that's not very nice, but before I would have an argument with them, but now I'm like, that wasn't very nice. It's okay though, people make mistakes, and think that, you know, you develop better relationships with others when you have a better relationship with yourself.
Oh, 100%, because a lot of that is what is displacing how we feel about ourselves onto others, aren't we?
Oh yeah,
being nice. There's a lot of displacement all the time, and to be like, yeah, you know, you may react to someone in a really negative way, but a lot of it, we're just angry with ourselves, man. We're hurting inside, and then we take it out on others because it's an easier thing to do than be saying, look, actually, you know what, I need to look at me, what part I played, you know, how did I handle it? You know, I need to check myself first.
Yeah, and it's a very hard thing to do though, isn't it?
It's, you know, that self-reflection, looking in that mirror and saying, you know what, you know, maybe I was wrong. And there isn't someone else to blame here, it's me. You know, and it's having that balance. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because then, as I said about being overcritical, so then there's that whole thing of, yeah, but you don't want to come down too hard on yourself. So then yourself, but you need to be in reason. Just ask yourself questions. Don't bash yourself for maybe not being the best you could have been in that situation. You know, just ask yourself, could you have done better? And next time, where are areas I can improve on the way I communicated whatever it was, or how I handled the situation. And it's been that, isn't it? It's been that whole thing of, you know, where does yelling at someone get you? Nowhere. So why yell at yourself? And why bash yourself? And it's having that same relationship.
Yeah, I find just like journaling for 5 minutes, I'll just start writing, and then like just get it out, and then I'm like, okay, well, it's out there now. I don't need to think about it anymore. And that's stopped my, you know, my ruminating and my anxiety over a situation. I'm no longer going, oh, I did this yesterday and blah blah blah. Like, I'm over it. I journaled about it. It's done. And I think that's a really important thing as well with your mental health, is saying, okay, well, this issue happened and I've looked at it and I've said, okay, I did this wrong. That person did that wrong. We're both sorry, whatever. Let's move on. Let's move forward. We don't need to bring it back up.
Oh, 100%. Any trips for basically getting out of the funk, as I called it? Is moving on, you know, when you're in that dark place, have you got any tips? I know it's not going to be the same for everyone, but it's just nice to put it out there because people might want to hear kind of how you saw that light in that dark space, how you found your way out of it. What really did it for you? What was a light bulb moment?
I think a light bulb moment, I think I had several light bulb moments. And I do think it started with actually going to an art class thinking I would be awful.
Oh, really?
And literally I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm gonna try and draw this. It was like a, you know, those helicopter plants. Yeah. So it was one of those, and I was like, I'm not gonna draw it. It looks horrible. I can't do it, blah, blah, blah. And then I drew it out and I was like, oh, that's actually really good. And it was the first time that I'd probably said something positive about anything I've ever drawn. So I think that was a good moment where I was like, I actually enjoyed this class, and so I'm going to allow myself to have this enjoyment and go back to that class. And the more I went back to the class, the more I had that enjoyment, the more I realized that when I'm in the class, it doesn't matter how sick I'm feeling or how depressed I was beforehand. I have so much fun and I create something, and that maybe I don't finish it, but there's something in front of me that looks decent.
Yeah.
Or at least I think so. And think that's what's important, is finding something that brings you out, even for an hour, even for 5 minutes, just brings you out and you're in the space of having fun and creating. Maybe it's not art, maybe it's something else. Maybe you like to build something, maybe you like to write poetry.
Yeah.
Like I started writing poetry whilst I was living in London, and it was just a way for me to just release a lot of the emotion. Yeah. But I think that's what it is just find that one thing that brings you out, even for 5 minutes, and maybe you do it once a week, maybe you do it once a day, but just allow yourself, give yourself permission to have fun and enjoy that one thing.
I hear that. Yeah. Start seeing, that's the way you start seeing the light. Giving yourself that, you know, existing in another space, basically. So that funk you're in, one thing to focus on, and take your time with it as well. Don't think it's gonna be an overnight miraculous difference in your mood or whatever, but it's just a little something, isn't it, to start that process of starting to feel better and feeling happier within yourself. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's not an overnight thing, and trying to rush your healing can actually just give you more frustration. But it's understandable. People just want to get out.
You just want to get out of it straight away.
You just want to be free.
Like, there's not a nice place to be in. So yeah, you just want to get out of that place straight away. Yeah. Have you got any tips for starting a new business? And you know, a woman full of advice and starting something new, this new venture.
Again, don't rush it. I think in the beginning I really tried to rush it, and I put out a knitting program, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I think it was a really good experience for me personally.
Yeah.
I struggled with failure. I had this massive fear of failure. So I think for me, having that course, basically nobody joined. I wasn't marketing properly. So for me, that helped me to be like, okay, so I failed at something and I'm still alive and the world is still turning and nothing bad happened and it's okay.
The planet's not going to blow up.
No, exactly. So I think overcoming your fear of failure, I think, is a really, really good thing to do in the beginning, and just keep working on the fact that, you know, every time you fail, you're just learning. It's just a learning experience.
Yeah, feel the fear and do it anyway. And
yeah,
they're setbacks, not failures.
Exactly. Yeah, setbacks. What other tips do I have? I don't even know. I think just do what feels right for you.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing. Don't try to follow somebody else's journey. Don't try to or they did it like this, I have to do it that way. Like, do what feels right for you.
Yeah, that's definitely advice, especially for me starting this venture with the podcast. And do what feels right for you. Listen to that intuition and your inner self, and what do you feel that's, you know, gonna be, you know, your journey, your story, because it's very easy to copy others. And be, you know, and try and be like other people because they've had that success.
Yeah.
Remember, you don't know how they've got there. You don't know how they've achieved what they've achieved. You don't know their story. So, you know, we're just seeing an end products. They won't always show how they got started and where it came from. You'll just see their success and their viewing figures and or whatever they're doing, how, you know, that they're very successful. So, you know, your story is your story, and how you get there is how you get there, not how someone else. And don't get me wrong, you can take advice, but everyone's journey is different.
Yeah.
And remember, that's what makes you special, is that you're different and that you're not the same. So embrace your difference, embrace what's unique about you, and use it. Use your, as I call them, superpowers that you love to talk, Trips. That's your superpower. And use it, you know, as you do. You're tutor and, you know, a creative healing coach. So, you know, you're using your gifts.
Yeah.
Others, and with that's authentic and it's genuine, and you will, and it's not easy. And I think that's what we have to remember as well for any new venture and starting something new. Be prepared to have setbacks and be prepared to work hard and put your all into it if you want it to be a success.
Yeah.
Because if it's worthwhile, it's not going to come easy.
No, it's not. And you know, I've never run a business before, you know, you've got to learn all these things. And,
yes.
and the only it is fun if you come at it with a good mindset of, I'm excited about what I'm doing. If you're like, oh, now I have to learn how to, like when I first started marketing, I was like, I don't like it. It's icky, it's gross. I don't like putting myself out there. And so I just never did. And then when I started this reel challenge, I was like, oh, it's not that bad. It's kind of fun. And I started to get more into it. And I was like, actually, I kind of like this. And I show up more in my stories now. And I think, you know, it is a mindset thing as well. Come at it in a positive light. And you know, every setback is just a learning experience, and just see it that way. And don't compare yourself, like you were saying, don't compare your journey with an influencer, because where they are now is not where you are now. So don't compare yourself.
100%. It's having that growth mindset. As I was just talking about a podcast that I was doing earlier. It was all about growth mindset, and it's having that. It's you know, having that mindset of, you know what, I have to put in the work in order to achieve this, and thinking forwards, and always looking at, you know, this is where I need to get to, and it's not going to come easy. It's not being limited with that mindset. It's let me try this. Maybe I had a setback with that thing. Let me try another thing, and just keep on going, basically, and just keep on looking forwards. And you know, if you want to achieve your goal, you've got to be willing to put in the work, and be willing to realize that, you know, to try other things and try different things and new things, and you know, and then be open to criticism, be open to, you know, the feedback you might get along the way that I've had. But I've used the negative feedback to drive me and inspire me, and to keep me going, and look at myself and what do I really want to do, and what do I really want to achieve. Because you're always going to find people that don't like what you do, or have got something to say about what you do that might not be nice and might not be constructive. But you know, it's down to you, to how you respond to the information, and you know, how you use that to fuel your ambition.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my words to live by. That's what keeps me going. Right, where can people find you, Trips? What you on? Are you on Facebook again, or or
I mostly use my Instagram account, which is @inspire.calm,
which we got it's for everyone to see. It's up there, which is great.
It's up there. I think if you go into the link in my bio, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on TikTok, you can find me through there. But yeah, my predominant social media is Instagram.
Cool. Trips, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on my show. Thank you very much. First time, I hope you'll come back. And
yeah, definitely.
Shows together, you know. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for sharing your journey with us. And people, please like, share, and subscribe to the video. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.